Let me start out with a question here today. If I was to say to go to your safe place, what is your favorite kind of place in the whole wide world? A place that you could always run to, a place where you feel safe? What would it be like? Would it be like a beach, the woods, the mountains, your house, your bedroom? What would it be? Would you have perfect kind of weather? Would you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, a cat or a dog, your family, your friends? What is that place that you could always see yourself being? Whenever I was a junior, I was getting ready to be a junior in college, I was able to go to Australia for 3 months during the summer to do an internship with the church. And down there, they absolutely love just like their getaway spots. They love to go on vacation. They love just to go away by themselves for a day and just kind of adventure and explore. Well, on the staff, they required me to have what they call a retreat day, where once a month I would have to go out completely by myself and find that place. Find that place where everything just kind of went away. There was this place called the Foreshore, and it was absolutely gorgeous. You would go out into this little lawn, and it was just green everywhere, open fields. Dogs were always playing. I'm a dog lover, so that was always cool for me. And then that you have like this little lake kind of thing in front of you, and on the other side of the lake, there was a city, just huge buildings. And whenever you looked out, you just kind of forgot everything because you're just kind of marveling, saying, wow, this is beautiful. Now, it was winter there, so the weather wasn't ideal for me. For me, an ideal weather would be like 72 with a breeze. And I love the beach, so I'm always there and having my dog with me. But for you, what is it? What place is it that you want? I love the book and the movies, The Lord of the Rings. And if you've ever watched them or read them, Frodo is this little guy who's in the Shire. The Shire is just this little place, and they always lived in the grounds. They live in these little sections, and whenever they're there, they don't have any worries. In the book, it talks about how hobbits have no concerns. They're not worried about the outside world because they have no reason to worry. They have themselves, and that's it. Well, Frodo, his uncle, Bilbo, actually has this thing called the ring, and obviously, if you know anything about it, the whole book is surrounded by this one ring that can control everything, that can destroy everything. And Bilbo ends up giving it away to Frodo, and Frodo doesn't realize the extent of how much that ring is. So one moment, Frodo is living this whole life of not caring about anything else but his life, and he's getting a little older, not too old, but he's living in the Shire, he's just enjoying life. But then one day, this ring comes along, and it changes his whole life. And they end up having to say, okay, you have this ring, and you need to get out. People are going to start looking for you. This evil is starting to look for you. And if you don't get away from it, if you don't hide, if you don't run, if we don't destroy this ring, then you will die. So Frodo ends up having to make all these plans to go to this place called Rivendell. And he goes on this huge long journey with a couple of his friends who are also hobbits, and they're always in danger. They get captured, and they get chased. He gets stabbed at one point. They end up going to like this hotel, and during the night, there was a bounty to kill him, but luckily they got away. So they go through these days and weeks of running away, and they're trying to get to Rivendell. And if you know anything about the Lord of the Rings, you see this picture of Rivendell that I believe depicts it perfect in the book. And it says it like this: there was a noise of bubbling waters that came up from the foaming river. Birds were singing, and a wholesome peace lay on the land. To Frodo, his dangerous flight and the rumors of the darkness growing in and around the world outside already seemed only memories of a troubled dream. In our lives, I believe that we struggle with just living in our comfort and our safety. We don't want to get away from it. We love it because it's what we know. It's what we do. So today we're going to be talking about being bent for people. And you may ask, what does this have to do with my safety and my comfort? I'm going to teach you guys how Christ does not call us to live in a comfort. He doesn't call us to live in the Shire. Rather, he gives us a ring and tells us we have to destroy it and we have to go on an adventure. Guys, I can't describe to you how to love people, but God does. And here at Jive, we talk about being bent for people. Because whenever we forfeit over our lives to Christ, we give up ourselves and we rid ourselves of everything. Jive, our main thing is being all things to all people. But what does that even mean? What does it look like to be all things to all people? Does it mean for us to go out and to do whatever people are doing because we're ministering to them? No, not at all. What it means is that we meet people where they're at, on their level, to do the things that Christ tells us to do. There's a huge difference between us saying, I'm going to go do the things with these people, rather than say, I'm going to help these people. It does not say for us to go and to do what these people are doing, but to do what Christ tells us to do. In one of our key verses, it says, yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. But let's backtrack a little bit. What is one thing that makes you mad about people? Just one pet peeve, one thing that just irritates you? For me, is when people lie to me. It's always been a huge thing for me. If you lie to me, then I immediately lose a lot of trust in you. Whenever I was a kid, I remember that my brother used to lie to me a lot, and to this day, he lies to me a lot. Not intentionally or something. He's had a hard life. But it still gets to me every time. So what is that one thing that gets on your nerves? Could it be drama? Could it be lying? Could it be cheating? Could somebody have hurt you and you just can't forgive them? Now I want you to think about that thing we talked about earlier. It's that place of solitude. Do you see drama there? Do you see lying there? Do you see cheating there? Do you see fights there? Because I guarantee that if I was to go around the room and have everybody around your room right now say, how many of you guys have seen a fist fight at your school? Some of you guys would raise your hands. How many of you guys have been in a fist fight? A lot of you guys would raise your hands. How many of you all have cheated, have been a part of drama, have caused drama, have hurt someone, have been hurt? Every hand should be raised. But if you go back to your place of solitude and your place of just being at comfort, those things aren't there. And I guarantee you, you won't be texting somebody asking them what they said about you in your place of silence. So where could we have this kind of place? Obviously, we can't live at the beach with 75-degree weather and a breeze, or live in Rivendell with a bunch of elves where things are perfect every day. But where is that place that we can go? Where is that place that we can make everything come together? And I honestly believe it starts with the church. A lot of us can say, well, you don't need the church to grow. You don't need the church to be a good Christian. And I would disagree. The church, yes, is just a building. But the church is so much more than a building. It's fellowship. It's being together. It's hanging out with each other. It's growing relationships. And for me, it all started in youth group. If I didn't have my youth group, I wouldn't be here where I'm at right now. And I truly believe that God used relationships with my youth minister buddy, with my friends that are still my best friends now, to go into the ministry, because God said that's where you need to be. So let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys know that kid at school? That weird one? The one that smells a little weird? The one that acts a little different? He likes weird things? He doesn't talk with nobody. He gets picked on a lot. No one wants to be around him because he is so weird. He doesn't receive people well because he's been hurt so much. He doesn't trust many people. What do you do for him? Do you do anything for him? Are you him? Do you stop the kids who are picking on him and tell them that ain't cool? I know it may sound lame, but sometimes that kid might need that. Yeah, suicide is becoming even more serious every day. And a lot of people would be like, oh, he ain't gonna do it. The next thing you know, you're having to write on a Facebook wall saying how sorry you are. Telling families that they're sorry for the loss. So if that kid came to church, what would you do for him? Would you accept him? Would you want him in your life? Would you show him Christ's love because no other love has been shown to him? What about that girl at school? The one who's a little bit more friendly with the guys. The girl who seems to cause a lot of trouble with different girls just to be mean. The one who has a really bad attitude. The one who has a hard time being alone. The girl who seems like she needs something always in her life to make up for that loss. What would you do for her? Would you be there for her? If she came to church, would she feel comfortable? Would you accept her? If she was causing drama with you, would you push it aside to show her Christ's love? Guys, those kind of people are always going to be coming to church, Lord willing. And that we allow them to feel safe to come there. That they don't have to put on a show. They don't have to be mean. They don't have to start drama. They don't have to worry about being weird. They can come, and they can come to be themselves. In 1 Corinthians 8, it says this, "But while knowledge makes us feel important, it is love that strengthens the church." And if we skip back a little bit, it says in verse 12, "We would rather put up with anything than be an obstacle to the good news about Christ." Push aside everything that you've ever thought of those people. Because when they come to the church, they need to be accepted. Because the church is quite possibly the only time that they feel like they can be themselves. So where do we begin with the church? Where do we start with saying that the church needs to be the safe place? Now, I know that a lot of us in here, we all have pride issues. We all have things that just kind of get on our nerves, I would say. We all have those people who just kind of tick us off the most, and we always struggle with saying, I can't love that person as much. I think we would all be safe to say that. But let me ask you, if those people came to the church, would you be willing to push aside what you felt or how you felt, or regardless how much somebody's hurt you, in order for them to see who Christ really is? Because I feel like a lot of you guys wouldn't. I feel like a lot of you guys would struggle with saying, they cause me too much hurt. That person caused me too much pain. That person lied to me too much. That person hurt me. And then we completely forget what Paul said here. But while knowledge makes us feel important, it is love that strengthens the church. And later on, we would rather put up with anything rather than be an obstacle to the good news of Christ. So where do we begin? And I'm going to give you guys 3 helpful steps, in my opinion, to help you be all things to all people. Number 1, first off, they need to feel safe. First off, those people need to feel like they can come to the church, not be judged, not feel like they're going to be hurt, like they're hurt every day. The church needs to be the one place, no matter what's happened, who it's happened to, or how many times it's happened, that person can come there and feel like it's going to be okay. The goal is that the church is the place where it's okay to not be okay. So are you willing to push aside your bad days, your bad moods, your false attitudes, your bad days where everything just kind of seems to suck, so that that person that night can feel like somebody loves them? The church needs to feel safe. So that brings me to my second point. Number 2, you are the ones who can make it safe. Guys, no one else in this world can make the youth group safe. Not me, not Josh, not Justin, not all the sponsors around you right now. You. We can only do so much. We can't invite people all the time and tell them to come and then they come, guys. That is where you all come in. If you notice, Jesus did his part, but all the disciples and all of his followers are the ones who are going out and doing the work, doing the mission that they're supposed to do. So are you willing to step out into your own little world and to step out into your own little box and say, I'm going to invite somebody. I'm going to make sure that the church is somewhere safe. Because I remember one time, I was at a youth event, and one of my friends started making a lot of jokes about this person. You know, it was harmless overall. My friend didn't really think anything of it. He was just kind of joking because he's a jokester. But my friend got really, really offended. They felt like they weren't accepted. They felt like the jokes got too much. And so they just stopped coming. And they always said that they felt like our little group, whatever little group that was too much for them. They didn't want to be a part of that. They didn't want to be a part of a clique because they see all the cliques at school. So let me ask you, would somebody new coming to the church, would they say that about your group? Do you have a group? Or will they feel a part of that group? When I was in Australia, I love the fact that they had small groups every single Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night, they would go to somebody's house, and they would always play games. They'd eat food. They'd go over a lesson. I was a part of one to where we would go over a little devotion for about 20, 30 minutes, and then go and play basketball for like an hour and a half. Now, I'm not that good at basketball, but the fact that we just got to go do something that all of us dudes loved, that's what was fun. And it didn't matter if you were good at basketball, if you were a star athlete, or if you were somebody who just didn't care. No, you were just somebody who came to have fun. Didn't care what you dressed like, didn't care how athletic you were or weren't. Just bring you. Jesus says to come just as you are. So are you willing to make the church safe? Because I believe that a lot of us wouldn't accept those kids who need us the most. So number one, first they need to feel safe. They need to feel like the church is safe. Number two, you need to make it safe. And last but not least, you have to live it out. What I mean by that is, how many times have you guys been told something and it not went through the way you thought it was? Whether it was somebody lying to you saying, oh man, the party will be cool, nobody really matter. No one's going to be there, there ain't going to be no drinking. But when you get there, everything is the opposite of what they said it was going to be. The church is meant to be a place of safety. And whenever we portray the church as a safety, it needs to be that. This doesn't mean that we say, oh yeah man, it's going to be fun, we're going to have all these people who are going to accept you, they're going to be so much fun. But when they get there, all their expectations are thrown away whenever they're by themselves. Whenever you let them go be by themselves because you're too busy hanging out with all your friends. Now, it's not wrong to hang out with your friends at church. But what is wrong is if you leave a new person by themselves. Because the first step into making somebody comfortable in church is just to invite them. Just to let them know that you're thinking of them, that they're there, and that you're aware of who they are, and that they are alive and you actually care. We need to live out what the church does, because if I was to go around the room right now and ask you, what do you guys think Christians are? A lot of you guys, if you're a Christian or not, would say, well, hypocrites, liars, cheaters. They hurt me more than anybody else in the world. And sadly, a lot of people in the world have that kind of view. But that's not the church view that the Bible shows us that Jesus tells us to be. And even though our generations have said, no, you can't sin. It's wrong to sin. But it is wrong. But you're not right to condemn anybody, to tell them that they're wrong when you're wrong just as much. Guys, love beats everything. Love can make the church grow, and hate will destroy the church. If somebody new comes to the group, will you accept them? Regardless if they've hurt you or not or anything like that, would you bend for them? Would you let them know that you care about them no matter how much? Would you push aside everything that you thought was right or wrong and to bend into something you didn't even know you could do? Because I challenge you this week. I challenge you just to see what kind of life it could be if you bend for people. If you open up yourself to be seen to people who don't know who Christ is. Push aside your pride. Push aside your bad attitudes. Because if you are a hindrance to what God's trying to do, then you're in the wrong. So I challenge you guys to step out of your comfort zone. Get away from your place of solitude. Invite somebody to church. Make them feel like they're actually loved. Bend for people.